Thank you, Mr. Bunde, and thank you, UNDP, and thank you for reminding us that this humanitarian dimension is something we build on and take with us to new efforts to inspire our work. The final speaker in today's opening session is a strong personality who is known to many of you in this room. Having been severely injured himself while clearing cluster munition remnants, Mr. Branislav Kapetanovic has for years been an active and efficient proponent of and spokesperson for the Convention on Cluster Munition, highlighting who this convention really is for, namely people and local communities. Mr. Kapetanovic is now representing the Cluster Munition Coalition, which is, as you know, the coalition of civil society organizations that more than anyone can take credit for the existence of this convention. And I'd like once again to compliment this coalition for engaging in a very knowledge-based and serious way with us ministers and diplomats. And they were to be trusted to be allowed into the room as we worked on the convention, whereas the traditional role would be to say, you go in the streets with your banners. I think this was a learning example for many of us that we would like to take with us to new undertakings. So, Mr. Kapetanovic, we admire your work and your dedication and your courage. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear fellow campaigners, first, I would like to say how happy I am to see so many state representatives here in Oslo at this third meeting of states parties to the Convention on Cluster Munition. It is fitting that the conference takes place in Oslo, given the leadership Norway continues to show on this issue, not only in terms of the process that led to the signing of this convention, but also as one of the biggest promoters of its implementations. As we all know, cluster munitions are indiscriminate weapons whose victims all too often are mainly civilians, both during and after use. Moreover, numerous men and women clearing cluster munitions have been maimed or killed while trying to make the land safe for use by the civilian population. On the 1st of August 2012, when the world was celebrating the second anniversary of the entry into force of this convention, Serbia was saddened by the death of 2 deminers who were killed while clearing cluster bombs from the NATO strikes in Serbia. I regret every death from this horrible weapon, but this accident was so much harder for me as I personally knew one of them. The fact that Serbia, my native country, and the important player in the Oslo process, all the way until Dublin, when it withdrew, is at the conference today, makes me hopeful. I really want to see my country join the treaty as soon as possible, along with all the other states that haven't joined yet. Let us not forget that the nature of this treaty is largely a preventive one. We want to ensure that no other countries suffer from attacks and contamination like Laos or Lebanon, the 2 countries that hosted the last 2 meetings of states parties. This treaty has without a doubt created a stigma on use of these abhorrent weapons. The few recent instances of use were strongly condemned by the international community. The credible allegations of use in 2012 in Syria and Sudan are a reminder to us all that we must stay vigilant and work to ensure that no actor ever uses these horrible weapons again. It is important to remember that discouraging use by others is a formal treaty obligation. But of course, to prevent further use, the best guarantee is the destruction of all the stockpiles of these weapons as required by this treaty. The fact that more than 85 million submunitions have already been destroyed, representing more than 60% of all the stockpiles of states parties, is impressive. Another way of preventing any future use is to prevent any assistance with acts prohibited under the Convention. The Convention bans not only use, but also bans any assistance with use, transfer, transit, or stockpiling. Prohibitions which clearly apply during joint military operations. It also bans investment in the production of these weapons. I am encouraging more states parties to make these prohibitions explicit in their implementation laws, and I am applauding all those that have already done so. As the CMC, we ask a lot from governments, but we will also make a promise. We will work harder than ever for as long as it takes to promote the full universalization and the implementation of the treaty. I personally will continue to lobby governments until I achieve what I see as my life's goal, a world without cluster munitions. I am having a difficult operation next month, which will be one of the dozens of operations since I was injured. Being injured and its consequences are also one of the reasons why I dedicated my life to preventing any future casualties. I am sure that by the next meeting we will be even closer to that goal, and I am hopeful that a list of states parties then will also include my home country, Serbia. Thank you.
Well, dear delegates, we invite Serbia and any other state, having not signed or ratified, to do so. This concludes this opening session. I thank the fellow panelists for sharing their contributions, setting the tone for this Oslo meeting. Maintenant, Monsieur le Président, on va vous offrir 5 minutes de rédaction.
And now we will take a 5-minute break and start at 10.
Sharp, and we will have 5 minutes of relaxation before that, before I leave the floor to the President to take it forward. Thank you very much for being with us.